I just want to welcome you all here and thank you for taking time out and carving out some time for us tonight. I know it's valuable and I'll respect it. I am Michael Guthrie along with Maria Marks, and we run Wealth Mission Group. And for the next little while, I want to talk you through one idea, and that's how to turn a portion of your wealth into predictable monthly income that's backed by real assets. This is not a promise on a screen, but a real property standing behind every single dollar that we invest. If you spent your career earning at a high level, you've probably noticed the hard part isn't making the money. It's getting your money to make money without you. And that's what we're going to talk about here tonight. So here's the whole strategy: real assets, real loans, and real income. We run a private credit fund with a 10% targeted annual cash yield paid to you monthly. I'll define every one of those words as we go, but I want to frame it in your head from the start. We're not asking you to bet on the market going up, going down. We're putting capital in a lender's seat secured by real estate collecting interest. That's a very difficult job because most equity deals is some money goes up, some money goes down, and it has a different job and a different purpose. Same slide. Hold one. I got it. Nope. Go back one. There you go. Thank you. So let me describe someone you might recognize. High income, high taxes, very little free time. And almost all of their wealth is tied up in the work that we personally do. And I got an email today from a gentleman that has a similar fund to what we do. And he said, "What happens if tomorrow you can't go to work? Because if we stop, our income stops." That's not a poor person's problem. That's a successful person's problem. The doctor, the surgeon, the business owner, the lawyer, the CPA, you name it, somebody that's earning a lot of money, if they're not there working, and I call that the dancing bear because I was the dancing bear with our ATM company. If I wasn't there working, money would stop coming in. We'd stop making sales. So the challenge was never, for me, it was never earning money. The challenge was converting that earned income into a second income, which cash flow that shows up whether I went to the office or not that day. So here's the one thing: if you make the conversion, you don't own your time. If you don't make the conversion, you don't own your time. And what I mean by that is if you don't start converting your income into an income that's making money, whether you're working there or not, you don't own your time, owns you. So next slide. What is your time worth? So how do high earners try to make more? We can add more patients, we can add more clients, we can add more jobs, surgeries, whatever it is, more employees or more hours. But every one of those answers costs you, the investor, the worker, one thing you can't buy back, and that's your time. Now look at the other column: passive income, monthly payouts. We call them distributions professionally. Professionally managed, backed by real assets. When I say real assets, real estate, another asset we're doing the lending on. And that part matters because it doesn't add additional workload to you. So one of these columns scales by stealing your evenings, weekends, and vacation time, and the other scales while you sleep. Most of you have spent decades mastering the left column. I know I have. And tonight, Maria and I are going to talk to you about the column on your right. So what is the cost of chasing higher returns? Now, somebody out there's thinking, Mike, I can earn on my own 15, 18, 20% somewhere. And I say, yes, maybe you can. But let's do the honest math. Take that 15% gross return. Now subtract what it actually costs. Hundreds of hours a year, real due diligence, your ongoing management, decision fatigue on what to do, what not to do. If you hire an operator, there's operator risk and the chance of that person running it doesn't deliver. Net out all the net that all out and ask yourself the real question on the screen. Did I create more wealth or did I just actually create myself another job? A return you have to babysit and manage isn't passive. It's another form of employment with extra steps. There's a place for growth, and I'll be honest about it later, but chasing the highest number every single time usually costs you more than it pays. So why now? So why are we talking about this now? Three things have happened all at the exact same time. One, banks pulled back with tighter standards, slower approvals, and less flexibility of cash. Two, the operators who buy and build real estate still need capital. They still need it fast, and their projects can't wait for a bank committee or a bank to approve a loan or a distribution to them. Three, the gap had to be filled by someone, and that someone isn't you or me or Maria. It's called private credit. And here's the part I want you to hear. This is not new and it's not exotic. Pension funds, insurance companies, endowments have all lent money this way for decades. It's the quietest, most boring corner of finance, which is exactly why it works. What's new? It's now available to individual investors just like you in a nice, clean way. This is $1 trillion market and it's growing because banks aren't coming back anytime soon. And when I say trillion, we finally named a trillionaire this week. Most people aren't happy about that, but you know what? The guy earned it. So he's now a trillionaire in $1 trillion market. So how does our strategy work? Let me show you exactly how every single dollar moves so there's no mystery here. Step one, our vendor sources the deals. They screen every operator and assess the collateral before any dollar goes out. Step two, funding. Our capital goes out in first position. And I'll explain what that means in a minute, but first position is the seat you want at the table. Step three, distribution. That borrower pays us interest. That interest flows to you in fixed monthly payments via ACH. And step four is liquidity. As the loans pay off, principal gets redeployed, and you have access to your capital after 1 year with 60-day notice. The whole chain is simple. You invest, we lend, the borrower pays, and you receive a distribution. The entire thing is protected by a first lien position on real property. Simple process, predictable results, and that's by design. So what would more certainty of income mean for you? Step back from the mechanics for a second and think about what it actually buys you. Not the percentage, but the life behind the percentage. It buys you more time, more freedom, more flexibility, more options, more confidence, and more margin of time for you in your days. So here's the idea I'd ask you sit with. When part of your wealth becomes predictable, more of your life becomes flexible. The reason is simple. Stop making decisions out of fear of the next bill and start making them out of choice. Certainty in one corner of your portfolio gives you freedom in the rest of your life. That's the real product. 10% is just how we deliver it. What monthly cash flow can create? Now let's make it real. Our target's a 10% annual yield paid to you monthly. So $100,000 will net you $833 a month, approximately $10,000 a year. $500,000, about $4,100 a month, or $50,000 a year. Now, look at the photos around the table because that's the point. The monthly number isn't the abstraction. It's the golf round on Tuesday. It's the trip you're postponing. It's being there. It's the people who matter. While your capital does the job in the background. I want to be precise. 10% is our target. It is not a guarantee. It covers the risks straight up, and I'll cover the risks around that here in a few minutes. But this is the shape of what predictable monthly cash flow can look like for you. So, why private credit exists? Let me zoom out and answer that question why it does even exist. Because banks slow down, operators need capital fast, so private credit funds step in and lend. And every loan is backed by real estate. The borrower pays interest, and the interest gets distributed back to you, the investor. Three steps, and the whole thing rests on three words: real assets, strong underwriting, and predictable income. This is not a pitch. This is the actual machinery institutions have used for years. We just we're just trying to simplify how it actually works so it's understandable, so you would look forward to participating in a fund just like this. How do we think about risk? I'm not going to skip past the risk because if I did, you shouldn't trust the rest of what I'm saying. There are three real risks here: borrower risk, borrower default, and liquidity risk. Your capital is committed during the loan term. Market risk, economic cycles move. Those are real. And here's how we handle each one. Every loan is backed by real estate as the collateral. We lend conservatively at or below 70% loan to value, which means the property is worth far more than the loan. We favor short duration loans, so we're not stuck with that borrower for years. And they don't want to be in this loan for years. They want to grab the money, get the asset, fix it up, and then either put permanent debt on it on a 30-year fixed mortgage or sell the asset off for a complete upside. We diversify across borrowers, property types, and markets. And we use an institutional loan servicing professional whose only job is collecting and managing these loans. My whole career was built around one rule: protect our downside first. If I get that, the returns will take care of themselves. Great question. What happens if a loan goes bad? I heard somebody thinking about it. But let's say a loan goes bad. What actually happened? Here's the playbook step by step. The payments stop. Our team steps in immediately. Because we're in first position, we have asset control and foreclosure rights in place with the loan. We can take control through legal rights, not beg in line behind some other lender. And from there, we can either sell the asset, restructure the loan to recover the capital. And underneath all of this, all of it is an equity cushion. Because we lent at a conservative loan to value, there's a buffer of value protecting your principal. That's the difference between hoping and planning. And I've been told my whole life, hope is not really a strategy. We plan for the problems before they happen. So real asset backing, conservative loan to values, experienced underwriting, active management, and that's not a slogan, that's our safety net. So most of you may know us from apartments because we've raised a lot of money in apartments. And here's why what we're doing here is different. Many of you know us on the apartment side as Pacific Capital, the multifamily deals. So let me be direct about how this is different side by side. Apartment deals are equity, a 3 to 7 year hold, returns that depend on appreciation, the market, your K1 tax reporting, your K1 tax offset, and distributions that can move month to month depending on how occupied the buildings are. The fund is different. It's a 12-month commitment to contractual interest rates when we loan the money, and returns that are backed by real assets, simple 1099 reporting, no K1s, no surprises, and monthly distributions or payouts you can count on. Same team, same discipline, same people you've trusted with growth, just built for a different job. This is built for income, not or instead of appreciation. You've invested in apartment deals. This is a piece that belongs in your income bucket right next to your long-term equity holds. So what multifamily taught us, because I think that's important that we should share that, and because it lends to the reasoning on why we created Wealth Mission Group and the private credit equity or the private credit fund. And I'm going to be honest about why we built this because it came from our own experience. We still today, if you follow my emails, I still invest in multifamily and I still raise money for that. So I still believe in it. But years of operating taught us something. Great equity deal depends on a lot of things going correct. Occupancy, rent growth, expense control. And when I say expense control, sometimes it's taxes, sometimes it's interest rates, sometimes it's timing in the market. We're good operators and we can influence most of that. But if you look at the other column, rising interest rates, insurance costs, the market cycle, construction delays, and broad economic shifts, even the best operators on the earth can't control everything. So somewhere along the way, we realized we didn't want every dollar we had chasing the maximum growth and exposed to things that are outside of our personal control. We wanted some of our capital in the seat where we get paid first, regardless of whatever happens in the way of where the market will break or could break. Excuse me. And that's why we added private credit. So here's the distinction that made us add private credit. And I want you to catch the two small words. With equity, you win if occupancy rises and expenses stay under budget, and if rents climb and if markets cooperate. If the whole business plan succeeds, a lot of ifs, and they all have to line up. And some of them are lining up. But with private credit, you win because when the borrower makes the payment and when the property stands as the collateral and when the loan stays inside our underwriting guidelines, if is a hope, when is a schedule. Private credit was never meant to replace growth investing. Growth is how you build wealth decade over decade. And this was built to do a different job. This was built to create income and stability today. You want both buckets. We're just adding one most people are missing. So why did we choose our lending partner? How did we choose our lending partner? We made a deliberate choice here, and it's a very important one. We don't pretend to be loan origination experts. Instead, we partner with specialists who've done nothing else for years. Look at their track record: 8 years of lending history, over $850 million of originations, net credit losses near zero. 100% of their loans are in first position with a maximum loan to value at or below 70%. And that last point matters. They only lend where there's a good real equity cushion underneath. I'd rather put your money behind proven specialists than behind my own on the job learning. Good people, good track records with great structure. And here's how they underwrite the partner and that's how we underwrote the partner before we ever before they underwrite the loan, excuse me. So I'm just going to share with you things that Samantha and I really value, and that's three separate wealth buckets. And let me give you the framework we actually use for our own family's money, the three buckets. Bucket one is our emergency reserve, the safety net that allows me and Samantha to sleep at night. Bucket three is growth capital, which is our long-term, build the legacy kind of money where our apartment deals live and where they should. And bucket two in the middle is the income engine, that part of our wealth whose only job is to create monthly cash flow. That bucket, most successful people skip entirely. They've got a reserve, they've got growth, and they've got nothing generating income. And if you don't have anything generating income, all your income coming in is reliable on you. And if something ever happens to you, that income goes away. So here's the line I want to leave you with. Growth builds your wealth someday. Income changes your life today. This fund is built for bucket number two. So now that you've been listening to me for a good few minutes, I want to say 21. Here's a quick word of who's behind this. And because you should never wire money to a strategy, you should wire money to people. Samantha and I have spent our careers building and protecting capital. Samantha and I, scaled one of the largest independent ATM networks in the country from single machine to over 8,800 of them across a 28-year time frame. It's a business I lived or died on by disciplined systems and protecting cash. We took the same discipline into multifamily, and we've helped manage and protect over $2 billion in assets in that space to date, and have saved our investors millions and millions of dollars in taxes in the multifamily space across 25 years of investing. And we've held the standard simple: protect investor capital above everything else. And who rounds out our team? No one other than Maria Marks, and I'm going to let her take over and bring us home.
Thank you, Mike. And yes, I used to be a nurse. I worked in the hospital. My favorite part was helping people, but all I was doing was helping them leave the hospital. I wasn't helping them learn anything. I wasn't helping them get back to what they were meant to do financially. I was just helping them leave me. So I took a turn and moved into something different. And I love what we do here. And I've really been able to help educate, and I will walk you through whether this situation is good for you. There's no pressure, and that's the great part about it. This is investor first every time, and we really get to sit down and walk through these different buckets and make sure that this is the right fit for you. So that's a little bit about me. So, what your capital is backed by, and these are actual assets. We've talked about this fund and how it loans money to properties, but there's 6 categories: residential, bridge loans, fix and flip financing, single family rental loans, investment property loans, multifamily, like on the smaller side, and development property. You don't need an expert in any of these. That's our job. We'll find that. And here's why the variety matters to you. It's diversification built into the fund. Your capital isn't riding on one borrower, one property, or one corner of the market. It's spread across many loans, many operators, and many markets. So no single deal going sideways can sink the boat. The spread is the safety. And you love the deal. That's going back to multifamily. We've all loved operators on day one. Try year 4, things change. So it is a different situation when you're in with them for a bit longer. So I do love the spread that way because you get lots of different operators, lots of different situations. So why 10% preferred is predictable. So does the 10% actually, like, where does it come from? I want you to see the whole waterfall, because a number of you can't explain it, that it's a number you shouldn't trust. If you can't explain it, you shouldn't trust it. The borrower pays 14 to 16% for this money, and they pay it gladly. They are happy to pay it because we're fast. And as Mike said in the beginning, banks are pulling back. They're taking way more time to distribute those loans. So they're happy to pay that 14 to 16% because we are fast. Out of that, funds cost 1 to 3%. We hold back another 1 to 2% as a reserve buffer, the cushion for those rough months. What's left is distributed to you. The target is 10%. Notice what that means. 10% isn't squeezed out of a 6% return, propped up with hope. It's conservative slice of a much larger spread with a reserve built in on top. That's why we call it sustainable. The margin's real and the buffer is there on purpose. Love this slide. So here's the structure, plainly, minimum investment. This is what's really showing what we've seen in the last 8 months of our money really being in this fund. And we wanted to show it because transparency is very important to us. It shows that we're showing you what our investors are actually receiving. So in the last 8 months, as of April 30th, 2026, we've had over almost 2 million invested. We've had this large number distributed to our investors, and that monthly amount is almost 22,000 a month is delivered to our investors. That's amazing. We've had 7 straight monthly distributions, and just it's amazing to see that they've all been consistent. I don't want to say we're guaranteed. We can't say guarantee, but we want to say it's a prediction and it's a number that's looking pretty good right there. So we love to show that. We love to hear that. And we love to show the last 8 months what we've been able to.
I want to clarify one thing here. Yes, there's $1.75 million in the fund currently, and it distributed back to the fund is the 139,791, or the last few months, the last month was 2185 or a 15% return. Out of that 15% return, as Maria was stating on the couple slides before, there's the costs that are saved by the fund and the reserves buffered. And that's how we know we can give you a 10% return targeted on a monthly basis.
Thanks, Mike. So the cash flow fund structure, the minimum investment is 50,000. The target return is 10% annually. Every dollar is backed by real estate, as we've stated multiple times. Your distributions are monthly, and your money is locked up for a 12-month period. During that time, at the 10-month time, we will call you, make sure this is still something that is right for you. And after that, you can reinvest that money. Now look at the bottom, because this part is the part I'm most proud of. One, we tested this with our own money first, a full year of validation before we ever opened it up to you all. We don't want to sell what we haven't gone through ourselves first. No conflict of interest. We make money when you make money, not before. It's a simple structure that works on purpose. No fine print, nothing underneath it. If you've been wanting the what it takes to participate slide, this is it. This is the slide that tells you, here you want to be part of us, that this is the one. So these are the questions that I get all the time. How are distributions paid? Like I said, monthly. They are monthly distributions, direct deposits. What's the lockup? The lockup is, some people ask if it's 12 or 24, it's 12 months. Plain and simple. What happens if the loan defaults? As Mike had said, we love when that question comes up, because I get to say our lending partner has a near zero times of that happening. But if that happens, we then get to take it over, and that's not going to affect, because we have that buffer in place, the monthly income. So can I invest through an IRA? Yes, you can. We've got all the documents ready for that, and we take any IRA custodian. If you have any questions, please book a call. Love to walk you through that process. It's very simple to invest through your IRA. And how is capital protected? Diversification and risk. We've gone through that slide. We really have laid out that way to make sure that your capital is protected. I think we have one question in the chat, but I haven't seen any questions. So if you guys see any questions, let me know if you have any you want to write in. Other than these are just the ones I get all the time. But if you have any questions, please let us know. Do have to say this is a disclaimer. This is for accredited investors only. If you have any questions of whether or not you are accredited or not, please book a call. Love to talk to you. Like I said, it's not guaranteed. It is a 12-month lockup. There is risk with any investment, and this is exempt from SEC regulation. So very simple. If you would like to look at our information, you can go to wealthmissiongroup.com or scan that QR code on your screen. You can visit, you can schedule your investor consultation, and we'd love to help you out. There's Mike's information and my information as well. And I'd love to open it up for any more questions.
So we've opened up the chat to everyone, and if you have any questions, please put them in there. Or I think there's actually a button for Q&A on the bottom of your screen for Zoom. And if there's anybody have anything or they want to get a hold of us directly, that is Maria's cell phone, and that is my cell phone up there. We are here to help, and this is our last webinar for the summer, so our last tranche that we're trying to get into the fund before we take a couple months off and enjoy our families for some time. I got a new grandson in the last year, and I'm going to head up to Idaho and just try and unplug for a spell. And I know that sounds interesting, but that's what the certainty and the predictability of this targeted cash flow is allowing for us to do. So love to do that with the family. So if there's any questions, please let us know. You can email me, text me, email or text Maria, and we're happy to help you. And it's been 32 minutes. This went pretty quickly this evening. There was a lot of information to gather. We will be sending out a copy of this recording tomorrow to everyone that did attend and everyone that didn't attend. And we had a pretty good crowd. We have a pretty good crowd on tonight. So we thank you all for coming out, and happy to connect with anybody over the next 3 or 4 days. I'm not leaving till the 1st of July. I am in office and I will be available via the cell phone. I can't run that far, but I am not planning on doing any more webinars or active marketing for the next couple months on this fund. So I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. And since there are no questions in the chat that I can see, I am going to go ahead and call it an evening and thank everybody for showing up tonight. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.